Hi, everybody. Kevin Hillstrom here, and welcome to the first of two presentations. Tomorrow's presentation will come at the same time. Today, we're here to talk about the state of catalog marketing in 2025. And how we got here to this is I was asked by the group that runs or basically, puts together the whole NMOA presentation I was asked by them to talk about what I might share with them if I were doing a presentation at NMOA. And so I shared the topics and things that I was interested in sharing with the audience. And at the end of that discussion, they asked me to bring either $10,000 or $20,000 to speak to the audience. And I asked them how many people I might be speaking to. They said it might be between 100 and 300 individuals. And this is in no way a criticism of their conference. They need to make a profit. And a modern conference, their job is to generate a profit. They're not there to just do things freely for the benefit of the audience. They're there to make money, just like it's your job when you send a catalog to make money. So their purpose then is different than my purpose. My purpose is an opportunity to have an honest discussion about what things are happening in catalog marketing and how it impacts you as a catalog marketer. So the purpose of this discussion then today is to have to talk about those topics and see where we can go with that. So this here on the left is the agenda that was on the website for NMOA, and these are the things that they were going to be covering. When I talked to them, the topics that I was interested in discussing really didn't align with these issues here. So these are the reasons why somebody attending their conference would want to attend and learn. We're going to talk about different things. We're going to do the conversation through the lens of a person here named Catalog Craig Paperman. So Craig is a longtime catalog person, and there are certain things that he likes to think about and discuss in catalog marketing, and he has a way of viewing the world. We're going to talk about why those views of the world may not be accurate. So let's start. One of the things that Craig will say when he's on LinkedIn is hashtag print is back. It's pretty easy to see when you visit LinkedIn and you have followers that are catalog centric. They may be people in the paper world, they might be printers, boutique agencies, individuals that really have to survive by having thriving catalog brands as clients. They are repeating the meme that print is back. And they're telling you that more and more brands are embracing print. And that is probably not true. What is more likely to be happening is that some companies that are e-commerce companies are experimenting with print a little bit. I have some clients that are doing that as we speak. But by and large, print is not back, nor is it ever coming back. Okay. This thing here, the phone, changed all of that. So once you have all the world's knowledge on that device, the need to have 96 pages of a curated assortment on paper delivered to your home through the post office became irrelevant. So there are customers where it is still relevant, but no, print is not back. And so we need to start off by having that honest thought process. Print is not back. We're also told by people like Catalog Craig Paperman, millennials and Gen X love print. And this was a comment that I got on LinkedIn in my comments section. It said it was from a person who works for an agency, and the person said it is marketers' fault. It's the marketer's fault that print is not working as well as it could. They failed to merchandise catalogs properly. And the person went on to talk about that the modern catalog that is sent to a customer among the people who are still mailing catalogs does a poor job of generating interest, response, and demand for their clients. And that if he were running a business to consumer brand that was mailing catalogs, he would go about it differently. What's interesting is he was not working for a business to consumer brand. He was working for an agency. And so he requires other companies to do things so that he can get paid. It is not the fault of a catalog marketer that catalogs are no longer working, that they are doing something wrong. It's a craft that had a place, and now that craft is no longer has that same place. That doesn't mean that catalogs can't work. Tomorrow we're going to talk about all the instances where they can work. But for today, we're going over the state of modern catalog marketing, and the thoughts that people have about it are that it's an Orbis that's doing things wrong. If Orbis had done things right, they'd still be mailing catalogs. That is not the case. It's the customer that changed. Customers aged. The customers that replaced them in, let's say, a 25 to 49-year-old age bracket, they use this thing. They view the world differently, and so we have to move on and change. All right. Another thing I read on LinkedIn constantly, Orbis is wrong. Catalogs play a vital role in the seamless marketing ecosystem. So Orbis is free to do whatever they want. And when they discontinue a catalog, they've got perfectly good reasons for doing that. I have a bias because that's about 20 years ago when I worked at Nordstrom, we discontinued a $160 million catalog business. And when we discontinued it, nobody noticed. Sales increased. We discontinued a catalog. Sales online increased. Sales in stores increased. And it was an eye-opening experience to see what happens if you actually remove a marketing discipline from customers. One of the things that happened was 70-year-old women in North Dakota were very angry. And so I got to field all those phone calls. And they were furious that their shopping opportunities were taken away from them. That is a perfectly valid issue. I did not get any phone calls from 27-year-old women who were going to buy cosmetics in the store and were upset that the catalog wasn't there for them. So catalogs do not play a vital role in the seamless marketing ecosystem. You're also going to hear lots of talk on LinkedIn about seamless, and they won't use the phrase omnichannel anymore because they know that's got a little bit of a stink associated with it. So they use seamless and integrated, those are code words for omnichannel. The catalogs do not play a vital role in that ecosystem anymore. It is a totally different world. Now, if your customer is 60 to 84 years old, yeah, you can probably sell me on that. But by and large, those days are gone. Orbis is not wrong. They're free to do whatever they want. And there are a lot of companies that I work with that have discontinued print, and the customer has barely noticed. So times change. We need to adapt and go with different times. Another theme I get in emails that I receive are about Amazon. And the comment is, someone like Catalog Paperman will say, if Amazon is doing it, you should be doing it too. You need to compete with Amazon. Amazon has billions upon billions of dollars and hundreds of millions of customers, and they can do whatever they want, and it has no relevance for your $35 million a year business. No relevance, none. In fact, this was one of the fun things that I learned at the end of my tenure at Nordstrom. We had credit data. And when we would send a catalog, we could see what the customer bought at Amazon. The customers spend more money on Amazon when we mailed a catalog than they spent at Nordstrom. So we measured this through A/B tests. One group received a catalog, one group did not receive the catalog. We measured the incremental lift across all other brands. We measured the incremental lift within our brand. If we generated $3 of sales per catalog at Nordstrom, we generated $4 of sales for Amazon. So Amazon's rules are different. And this was 20 years ago. So whatever is happening now, completely different world. Amazon can do whatever they want. Their rules are different. Amazon mailing a catalog is not proof that you should be mailing a catalog. It's proof they have all the money in the world that they can burn, and it doesn't matter. Okay? Here we go. This is what gets me. Customers love integrated, seamless, omnichannel campaigns. Everything works together. If everything worked together and catalogs were part of that process, then wouldn't catalogs be performing great? I mean, paid search works great, product listing ads, paid social works for customers with a younger client base. You can make arguments that for some people, affiliate marketing works, retargeting marketing will work. Email marketing obviously works. However, catalogs is a discipline, and total circulated pages in the mail over the last 20 years have decreased by about 70%. I know this fact because a paper brand that you all know accidentally sent me a presentation that they had looking at the last 20 years and the next 10 years. And it talked about how most of the pages that were mailed for catalogs had been slowly removed from the ecosystem by catalogers either going out of business or catalogers reducing circulation or cutting in home dates. And they talked about how in response, the paper brands consolidated and then constrained demand by closing up plants and opportunities and mills. And by closing those, they were able to get pricing authority. And then when COVID hit, there was a 10 or 15 or 20% bump in the request for paper, which they could not meet because they had closed everything and shut everything down. And so they had a problem, and then they couldn't deal with that problem. And they were supposed to send that to somebody named Kevin, and they sent it instead to me. And so I know that catalogs as an entire entity have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller in terms of total circulation. And whatever was mailed, let's pretend it was 100 catalogs were mailed in 2025, it's down to about 30 catalogs today. So just to show you, it's a 70% reduction. So customers do not love an integrated, seamless, omni-channel campaign, because if they did, they would be responding to the catalog portion of that and everything would be wonderful. That is not how it worked. One of the problems that we see is if you're a third party like an agency and you want to have a purpose in life, one of the ways you have a purpose is by solving this issue of all of your campaigns working independently. They can solve that by making all your campaigns work together. It gives them a purpose and a reason. There's a certain level of seamlessness that absolutely should happen, but by and large, the customer just doesn't care. If the customer cared, then catalog marketing and email marketing would just be brilliant and wonderful and growing and thriving and would be causing all the other digital channels to interact with it. And that is not what is happening. Okay. Another one I constantly hear, co-op lists have never been more targeted. With enhancements via AI, we can micro-target savvy consumers. If you talk to actual catalogers, they will say that co-op marketing is dead. They will say that lists are dead. So it doesn't matter how much you target and come up with ways of really, squeezing more juice out of that lemon. The customer that would respond to a catalog through a prospecting opportunity is probably a customer at 60 to 84 years old. Those customers are retiring, and as a result, they are spending less. And if a co-op is going to do the best job possible of optimizing response for a traditional catalog brand, that co-op is going to go out of their way to use a tool like AI or use any kind of modeling. It doesn't have to be AI. It could be any model. They are going to go out of their way to make sure that they are finding the best 60 to 84-year-old customer to respond to your catalog, which causes a problem downstream because now you've acquired another 60 to 84-year-old customer who does not respond to digital marketing very well, and then is a customer who's going to retire and not spend money in the future, and it further puts you into a cycle of trouble. So co-op response is going down. Most of my clients tell me it is going down to a point where it's not sustainable. They are terrified about how they're going to find new customers in the future. And the way to find new customers in the future is going to be digitally, and it's something that catalog brands should have been doing exceptionally well for 25 years, but have not quite done it as well as e-commerce brands who are fully dependent upon it. And so as a result, there's a reckoning coming. I'm told that retired baby boomers have more disposable wealth than any generation in history, and they will spend money. The data is showing that as that customer ages, so in other words, if you have demographic data and you can look at by 5-year age bands, you will see that that customer hits 65 years old and they plateau their spend, and they hit 70 years old, they spend less, and they hit 75 years old, they spend a lot less, and they spend 80 years old, they spend even less yet. So yes, they have more disposable wealth than any generation in history. Yes, they will spend money. No, they're not going to spend enough money to help you. Your job is going to be to go out and find a 35-year-old customer. And if you are constantly merchandising your brand to cater to this 70-year-old customer, the 35-year-old is not going to respond to you. And then you're going to say digital marketing doesn't work. Digital marketing works fine, but the merchandise you sell has to align with the customer you're selling it to. And one of the biggest challenges catalog brands have right now is they are selling merchandise that appeals to a 60 to 84-year-old customer. As a result, their digital marketing is not working well because the digital marketing is pushing an item that sells to 60 to 84-year-olds upon a 35-year-old customer who says, nope, not doing it. So this is a quandary that catalogers are stuck in. If you want the catalog to perform well, you're going to put even more merchandise that works with a 60 to 84-year-old customer, and you're going to get yourself in even more trouble. Another thing that catalog Craig Paperman would say, he would say that matchbacks with 90-day windows prove that catalog marketing works. He would tell you that analytical gurus are wrong. No, catalog Craig Paperman, you're wrong. Matchbacks with 90-day windows are complete falsities. Okay? It's fanciful to even think that a catalog would be held on for 90 days in the year 2025. That catalog has a life that's probably more in the neighborhood of 10 days, and the older your customer is, then that catalog life extends maybe up to a month tops. Okay? The younger your customer is, the more that window is 7 to 10 days. So if you're going to take a match back with a 90-day look at whether a customer responded or not, you're going to overstate demand so dramatically that it's going to make the catalog look wildly profitable, and you will continue to want to mail those catalogs. If you use A/B testing, okay, I know you don't want to hear that, but if you use A/B tests, you will be able to see how long that curve is that you get response from. So I've analyzed tests in the past year where that curve is about 2 weeks. Not 90 days, not 30 days, closer to 2 weeks. For some of you, it'll be 30 or 50 days because your customer's older. For some of you, it's going to be 4 days. And when you look at this properly and have the window constructed to within a short period of time, and you take the match back and you don't credit every order you get and match that back to the catalog, because we all know that all those orders, or many of those orders, would happen anyway. If you do the math properly, you'll find that that catalog is not remotely as profitable as you believe it is. So the analytical gurus aren't wrong. This antiquated methodology from the year 2001 is wrong. And how we employ the methodology is wrong. Okay. This is one that was in my comments on LinkedIn during a recent post. Quote, there is an intangible value to mailing a catalog that cannot be measured via simple profit and loss, unquote. Everything we do has to be measured via profit and loss. So if I'm doing this presentation and one of you doesn't choose to hire me and I end up getting no business out of doing this presentation, this was a waste of time. There might be an intangible value that I get from it, sure, but I need to get paid. And if I don't get paid, I have to go out and find a job. So this thing that I'm doing here today has to pay for itself. In the same way, a catalog has to pay for itself. The individual who wrote this comment said, analytics individuals do not know how to measure catalog marketing. I mean, are we serious? That is the approach that someone's going to take, that we have all these people who know how to measure things and none of them are right. And yet this person is suggesting that all these people are wrong, but he's not offering a suggestion on how he would measure something. He just believes there's an intangible value and therefore he should be able to keep doing his craft for the agency he works for. Everything we do has to pay for itself. Have you ever asked these agencies why they don't send catalogs to their customers? So if you had Orvis and they worked with an agency, how come that agency didn't send a catalog with all their services to Orvis? They're always doing it digitally. And before you say, well, that's B2B, it's not going to work. No, there's plenty of B2B catalogers that they'll send pens to customers. They send pencils to customers. They send flags to customers. B2B clients work really well with catalogs. And in fact, across my client base, my B2B audience probably has the most effective catalog marketing plans of anybody. So ask yourself why these agencies do not send catalogs to you. Okay, we'll just leave that hanging right there. Another comment I get frequently when I ask if they have mail holdout tests, I get this comment: you don't need to reduce revenue by A/B testing catalogs. Matchbacks are a proven best practice. Nope, matchbacks were a best practice in 2001. Matchbacks today grossly overstate the effectiveness of catalog mailings. And when they grossly overstate the effectiveness of catalog mailings, it causes you to keep mailing the catalogs, which means that your paper rep gets paid, your printer gets paid, and your boutique agency gets paid. Okay? So they want you to use matchbacks and they want you to overstate the catalog marketing effectiveness. In the A/B test, the mail holdout test that I've analyzed over the past 5 years, it is common for a brand to generate $3 when they mail a catalog and $2 if they don't mail the catalog per customer, which means that 67% of the sales that are being attributed through matchbacks are actually organic. They're going to happen through all the other avenues that the business either markets to customers or offers great merchandise that customers buy without the aid of marketing. Does that make sense? So the catalog is being grossly overstated in terms of performance by matchbacks. And when you choose to not do the mail holdout test, these A/B tests, you don't want to know truth. It's as simple as that. You don't want to know the truth. I had an individual on a video conference tell me that he did not want to know the truth because if he knew the truth, he would have to change how the whole company markets to customers. So that is out there. You need to be doing mail and holdout tests, and you need to measure the incremental gain between mailing and not mailing, and you need to ignore your matchback results. If you want to do matchback results on prospects, have at it. Not for your house file customers. You're going to learn all kinds of fascinating things, by the way, when you do mail and holdout tests. You will learn that there are some customers that are very catalog responsive. We'll talk about that more on tomorrow's presentation. You have customers that are so wildly productive with catalogs that you should be mailing them weekly. This comes up in all of my projects. There is always a group of customers that should be mailed weekly. And when I tell a cataloger that the A/B test showed that there are customers who should be mailed weekly, the cataloger tells me we can't do that. We don't have the bandwidth to do that. So what is it? Do you want to mail catalogs? And then when the answer that the A/B test gives you is 90% of the audience should get one catalog a year and not be mailed otherwise, but 10% of the audience should be mailed weekly because they are so catalog responsive. And I can show you that you'll generate more profit doing that, and your response is, nope, we don't want to do that, then you kind of don't want to be an effective marketer, do you? All right. Another one I get is about Amazon customers. So most of my clients now have a store on Amazon, and when that customer orders through Amazon, those customers stink. Those customers are loyal to Amazon, and you are nothing more than a service provider to Amazon. You're a vendor to Amazon. Okay? And so those customers have no memory that they bought from you. They have a complete memory that they bought from Amazon. And so when you try to market to those customers, it's a lot of failure. And I see that in all the metrics and all the projects I look at. So a catalog Craig Paperman will tell you, take that new Amazon buyer, send them a hotline catalog and convert them to your brand story right now. I agree you should be trying to convert those customers immediately. You've got a very short window to do that, so go and do that. However, the catalog is probably not the effective way to do that. Why would you spend 70 or 80 cents to do something that the customer who's already buying digitally through Amazon, that customer's just going to have no interest in what you're doing through print? So don't do it, okay? Use your digital channels, speak to that customer immediately. This is one I got from an agency. An agency talked to me recently, and they said there's no better way to drive a customer into the store than to send them a catalog full of inspiration. If you want a seamless, integrated method for getting a customer to buy something for you, which method is more likely to work? You talk to the customer digitally, the customer sits at home, buys from you, and you ship them product and they get their product in 2 or 3 days. That's method number one. Method number two, you send them print. And in the print that you send them, you spend 70 or 80 or 90 cents sending them a catalog. The customer now thumbs through it, and the customer goes, oh, I've got a store 26 miles away. The customer sets the catalog down, gets in the car, and then at $4 a gallon, drives 26 miles to the nearest store, buys the product in the store, gets back in the car, drives 26 miles back home, spending all that money on gas, wear and tear on the car, and loses 2.5 hours of their time. Describe for me which of those two methods is more seamless and integrated. When you analyze retail customer performance through A/B testing, mail and holdout testing, you will find that catalogs drive very little value to stores anymore. 20 years ago, a lot of value to stores. Even 15 years ago, I had clients that were retail clients that were print drove a lot of value. Now, if you're not advertising an event of some sort, something that the customer gets to enjoy in their store visit, the customer can order online. And that catalog is just another waste of money, especially when you're emailing the customer already twice a day. So why are you sending 80 cents worth of print to the customer when you're already contacting the customer twice a day through email? Something to think about. Speaking of email campaigns must align with the catalog that is currently in the home. Do not confuse the consumer. One of the mistakes that we have made over the last 20 years is we are constantly trying to integrate everything. And by integrating everything, we make everything complicated. And by making everything complicated, we force the customer to buy from a combined merchandise assortment. When I perform my analyses for clients, the opposite seems to happen. Every marketing channel has merchandise that caters to that customer in that marketing channel. So in other words, what a customer is willing to buy through a product listing ad is different than what a customer buys through an email marketing campaign where there's typically a lot of discounting involved. And what the customer buys through catalog marketing tends to be fundamentally different because the customer is older who responds to that method. So there's no reason for the email campaign and the catalog campaign to integrate with each other and and have the same merchandise, same everything. That is nonsense. Every marketing channel should be allowed to achieve its destiny by whatever it is that sells best in that marketing channel. You already do this in stores. Those of you, if you have a Nordstrom store and you've got a million SKUs, you can't put those million SKUs in the store. So you curate the assortment in that store to what works in a retail environment. So in retail, we're perfectly happy doing that. But in our marketing campaigns, we can't do that. That's garbage. We can do that. And that's one of the problems of modern catalog marketing is we don't let the merchandise assortment that works best in catalog sell in catalog. We need to be doing that. Another comment that I frequently get, make sure your catalog's aligned with the desires of today's savvy digital Google, Facebook shopper. Nope. Those customers are different. If you want something to work in social media, it should be something that's probably something the customer wants to talk about. There's a fear of missing out. You probably have a limited amount of items that you're willing to sell. It shouldn't be the bottomless pit of t-shirts that you sell on your website. It should be something interesting and there's a reason the customer buys and they have to buy it today or it's not available. What works on Google is frequently stuff that you've sold for a little while. So in order for Google/Alphabet to trust you, whatever items you're selling, frequently have to have a little bit of sales history with them so that their algorithms can detect that customers like that. Okay? So the catalog does not need to align with those channels. Also, common comment, make sure the catalog assortment is representative of your entire merchandise offering. Wrong. When catalogs are really expensive as they are today, and when response is depressed as it is today, the catalog should be comprised of two things: best-selling items that work with a 60 to 84-year-old customer. Anything else you do is just compromising response, which means that you cannot mail that catalog to more customers. You need to be putting in those first 20 pages, it needs to be loaded with the absolute best-selling items you have. Hopefully those items align with what a 60 to 84-year-old customer wants to buy. That is how the modern catalog has to be merchandised. If you're going to put in a brand statement with a density of 1 item per spread or 2 items per spread featuring a 31-year-old customer, you are going to get very little response and your catalog is not going to work. And that is where the 90-day matchbacks come in and where the industry tries to tell you, nope, that does work. It doesn't work. That catalog has to be merchandised with stuff that a 60 to 84-year-old customer wants, and it has to be best-selling items so that it pays for the pages you're putting in the mail. Another one I get all the time, get this through email. A person will send me an email and say, we measured the lifetime value of our customers and that Google product listing ad customer has terrible lifetime value. Our chief financial officer says we need to really focus on print customers and avoid the digital buyers. Wrong. This is a fact of life. It's just reality. We have to deal with it. So if that customer is worth less, we have to go find more of those customers and we need to stop spending expensive marketing dollars on them. Any customer that has low lifetime value, you speak to them when they are responsive, which is in the first 3 months after a purchase. It's in months 11 and 12 after a purchase. It's anytime that customer visits your website. And outside of those instances, you only use free marketing tactics to speak to them. So in other words, go ahead and send them emails because they basically cost nothing. Go ahead and use your YouTube presence, use your social media presence to be available to that customer whenever the customer is interested. If you want to retarget to that customer all across the internet based on what they looked at in their order or when they were visiting your website, go ahead and do that, but only focus on cheap channels for digital customers. There is no reason to be spending a fortune on a customer with low lifetime value. and the catalog falls into that, it's a high cost situation being sent to customers at a low lifetime value, not a good equation. So that catalog should evolve now going forward and focus only on the customers that care about it. It should have no place in the a 14-month-old, meaning 14 months of recency customer with one purchase who's 36 years old. That catalog has no value there when the customer is really not responsive. Okay, your paper rep and your printer are your trusted partners. They recommend best practices. They are your trusted partners. Now I act kind of crabby and I'm a little bit harsh here, and I'll tell you why. I mean, by and large, these individuals want to do what's best for your business. However, they also want to do what's best for their business. They have to stay in business. And so some of the messages and information that you're going to get from them are skewed toward their worldview, and it keeps them in business. So we have to be careful and filter what they are saying. So when paper wasn't available in 2021, 2022, in that time frame, your paper rep was not your trusted partner at that moment. Yes, they tried to help you, but they weren't really your trusted partner. They had constrained supply to a point where demand exceeded it, and they did that because that's what they had to do to survive. Many of you told me stories about your printer firing you. So that happened in 2022, 2023. Very large printers that are well known firing you. So that happened as well. That's hard to say that they're your trusted partner, but that is just what happened. And it means that you just have to have sort of a balanced relationship with these individuals. So I'm just asking you to have a balanced relationship with them. They have to stay in business as well, and they're going to do what's right for them. Another one that was common on LinkedIn about a year ago, a customer receives a catalog without opening it, still records an important brand impression. If the customer recycles your catalog, the customer could care less about the catalog. There is no brand impression, okay? So you should not be mailing catalogs so the customer looks at the cover, says, oh, I got a Lands' End catalog, puts it in recycling. If anything, that customer has a negative brand impression of Lands' End, or they wouldn't have thrown the catalog in the recycling bin without opening it, okay? So as we conclude this presentation, catalog marketing as it's previously existed is over. We largely execute a craft that customers aged 60 to 84 might respond to. So we are now marketing to customers differently than we would have 20 and 30 years ago. The cohort of customers who still respond to catalogs tends to be a cohort that is older. And that cohort is going to be spending less money in the future. And the customers who would be buying from catalogs in the past are buying through this thing. So that's over. And we just have to accept that and be willing to deal with that. Now, there are plenty of places where catalog marketing works. In tomorrow's presentation, we're going to hear about some of them. But we just need to be real about what this craft is now. Okay? So tomorrow, we're going to discuss where catalogs are appropriate. There are still cases where catalog strategy is relevant. I have several clients where I recommended in the past year circulation increases. So there are cases where catalog marketing is still working. We need to take advantage of those. For everybody else, we just need to start moving on and changing how we're doing things. And if you, since I'm going to remember, if I don't do this and I don't get business out of this, this was a wasted effort, just like some of your catalog marketing opportunities are wasted. If you are looking for a customized catalog marketing effectiveness project, contact me. My email address is right there. And tomorrow we're going to talk about where catalog marketing is still appropriate and how to apply it as we look to 2025 and 2030. So thank you all very much. I appreciate your attention, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.